適当に何人か蹴り落として点数稼ぎでも。あなたたちこんなこと続けていると破滅するわよ。
What are you doing? Just browsing through some seasonal anime. It's a pretty solid season to be fair. Newer anime are all shit. Have you ever heard of Yu Yu Hakusho? Doubt you did, fuckface. I'd rather have my balls cut off than to watch this shitty anime. Since the genesis of the internet, the anime fan was drawn to do one thing more than any other, and that is to compare any anime they saw with that one classic show from a few years ago and letting everyone else know how much better it is, even though it was made 10 or 20 years ago. It is a completely different genre and it has a very different public. Yeah, sorry for that little rant. I know, it is unbecoming of a teacher.
実はな、昨日の放課後、N 組のかかし先生の車輪ガンが盗まれた。犯人には様々な可能性があるが、やっぱ面倒なんでクラス内で適当に見繕うことにした。
I realized that it is natural and normal to compare anime. We all feel the need to sort and express our opinions on things we like. You see people doing it every day. Comparing anime they like, comparing anime they hate, comparing waifus, comparing husbandos, comparing culture, comparing moderns to classics, comparing anime from different genres, comparing anime they have never watched, and sometimes even comparing anime to the things that are unrelated and have no fucking sense, like shampoo? Let me make it clear. Again, there is nothing wrong with comparing anime, but the problem is that a lot of people don't really know how comparisons work, and a lot of the time you will see some surreal shit or even downright retarded comparisons. The purpose of this class is not to insult, mock, or say that you shouldn't compare anime. No, it is to teach you how a comparison should work and to give you some pointers so that next time when you compare to anime on Reddit, you won't look like a dumb shit. By the way, does anyone know how to get rid of blood stains? Welcome to class. I am your drunk sensei and today we are talking about why comparing anime is dumb. Wait, no, that's just my personal opinion. I'm sorry. What this class is really about is helping people realize that comparing anime is much more than saying that anime X is better or worse than anime Y, and to give out some pointers about some things to keep in mind when doing so to avoid an awkward situation in which you are forcing it harder than a hentai protagonist. For starters, let me give you a quick briefing on the types of anime comparisons I have found through my years of net surfing. First are the people that enjoy an anime so much that they want to showcase it to even more people. And the best way to do so is by comparing it to something a lot of people may know. I call this the love comparison. Why? Because like in love, the people that are doing this kind of comparison wish for nothing more than the good of the show they are in love with, even though this bias makes them a dick to everything else around them.
We have Naruto. So Naruto is my all-time favorite, okay? I learned all my jutsus from there. I learned like a lot of life lessons, okay? I don't know what you guys want, like, freak off.
Next is the hate comparison. This works exactly like the previous one, but people compare an anime to something else because they hate it very, very much. And they want to 1. Find affirmation that their hate is justified, and 2. Form a party of like-minded people to bash it into the ground. But unlike the assholes that do love comparisons, the people that do hate comparisons are genuinely nicer people, because instead of wishing for the whole anime world to burn to the ground, except the anime they love, they wish for everything else to be better than the garbage anime they hate.
Motherfuckers on Twitter all talking about, it's great, oh, Mikasa's my waifu, oh, and let me get this one thing straight about Mikasa. I know the only reason she's equally liked by both genders is because she has short hair and hardly any tits.
The people who are doing this kind of comparison are also the people that, if you don't agree with them, will tell you to fuck off and ask you why did you bother to post anything if you dislike the show they are talking about. You know? It's the if you didn't like it, why did you watch it kind of thing. Anyways, let's continue. Maybe the most common comparison is the let me show you I'm better comparison. The people that are doing this comparison are in a symbiotic relationship with the previous ones. They need each other in order to accomplish their goals and to be complete. While the love and hate comparisons seek attention, the let me show you I'm better comparison wants nothing more than to obliterate and invalidate you as a person by comparing the anime you like to other 15 slice of life seinen dramas, and to prove once and for all that they are the most intelligent and complex life forms on Earth.
Damn shit. Why am I so much fucking better than you? God damn! Using a fucking ump and you fucking little shits still get fucking hanged!
Also, they have family issues. Don't be mad at them. The JoJo's comparison, or how I like to call it, the one anime comparison, is when people will compare any anime, game or manga to one single thing, usually JoJo's, to the point in which they manage to trace every single event that happened since the beginnings of mankind to that one show they live for. So, I watched this anime about a guy that is transported to another world, and every time he dies, he's sent back in time to start things again. Oh, just like JoJo's, right? What? No, not really. Anyway, he meets this girl and... Is that a JoJo's reference? What, meeting a girl? Yeah, it happened in JoJo's. Yeah, and in every other anime ever made. Guess it's a really popular reference then, huh? Okay... Anyway, you should watch it. It's called It is a... No, it's not a bloody JoJo's reference. Okay. Good. Maybe we should talk about something else. How about video games? Sure. What is your favorite game? Persona 5. Oh, did you know that Persona users are just end users? The last type of comparison is the Steve comparison, and I'm sure you can all figure out why. The ones that are making this kind of comparisons are very, very sad people that are blocked in the past by nostalgia or by the false impression that it makes them look cool. They are devout believers of the fact that all anime that was made in the last 10 to 15 years is utter trash and should not exist. And to get their point across, they will compare anything to older shows like Death Note, Monster, and Legend of the Galactic Heroes, proving just their failure in understanding the evolution of anime as a medium. Now that we went through all the types of comparisons, I'm sure we all find ourselves in one or even multiple of them. Next, I would like to give you some tips about what to do when you're comparing anime. As I said before, it is nothing wrong in doing so, but if you will keep in mind the small details, it might help you get your point across and not sound like a shithead. If you look up the word comparison, you will find the next definition, a consideration or estimate of the similarities or dissimilarities between two things or people. Note the word similarities and dissimilarities. What this means is that to do a comparison you need a common point or theme. Simply saying that Black Clover is an anime and, I don't know, Attack on Titan is also an anime, so I can compare them, is a bit superficial. What is the common point that these two anime have in order for you to compare them? In this case, we can clearly see that both of them are shonen. Now let's do a comparison between the two from the perspective of the genre. What is shonen's main focus points? The action and the battle scenes. Okay, let's compare them. How do they differ? What are the strong points of each? What about the weak points? See, the comparison becomes valid because we had a common factor to base our comparison on. And it's important to focus on the main topic. Let's say that you are comparing to anime with the main focal point being which one feature better tights. Boy, if we compare tights, then we compare tights and nothing else. Anything else the anime is offering is irrelevant for our comparison. You don't need to compare the whole show necessarily, just the points that are related to the main topic you chose. One more thing. A lot of people seem to have this twisted notion that every comparison must have some sort of winner, like it's some sort of competition that determines supremacy between anime, when in fact it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Comparing anime doesn't mean putting them against each other in a deathmatch. No, you can just point out similar characteristics and mention both anime weak and strong points. A very common trap, and one thing that you should be very careful of, is the fact that it is very hard to compare anime from different social and time periods. I always rip off some of my hair when I see people comparing a modern shonen like My Hero Academia to Dragon Ball.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer.
Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball. Even if they are both shonen anime, comparing the two as such might come as unfair and ridiculous, because the two are like, what, 30 years apart from each other? Shonen was a very different genre back then, and even society itself was different. You can compare Dragon Ball with something made for the present day anime watcher. You can compare them from a historical standpoint, sure, but not a direct comparison using today's standard. You can try to point out the impact both anime had at their respective time. How did they shape and change shonen as a genre, and how were they received by the people? You see, the people in the 80s were very different from now. For someone in 2020, Dragon Ball may seem like a boring shonen with a bullshit-ass power system, a lot of screaming, and a repetitive story pattern. But for someone in the 80s, it might have been something revolutionary. And now, to answer the question that has been on all of your minds, can you compare anime purely based on personal enjoyment alone, without any common points? And the answer is yes, you can. You see, personal enjoyment is a common factor by itself, but this type of comparison is the most biased and unfair to make. We all have our preferences and things we find enjoyable, which is fine, but you have to mention that you are comparing them purely from a subjective point of view. I talked in another video about the fact that subjectivity can influence a lot our view on anime. If you are interested in it, you can go and check it out. The most important thing when you're comparing anime based on your personal enjoyment is to realize that other people might have different tastes and opinions than your own. Even though you are comparing anime based on your own bias, that does not give you the right to be a dickhead and trash talk the anime you like class or people with different opinions. And do not forget the importance of argumentation. People will be more likely to take you seriously and not to be dicks themselves if they see that your opinions have a solid standing. So, the class is now over. I know that this comes off more like a rant, and in truth, it is, because this is one of the things that triggers me the most when I see it. But at the same time, I'm not trying to insult or be mean to anyone. Some things are exaggerated for comedic effects, yes, but the reason I made this class was to try and help people in the community understand each other and to offer some tips for those who want to know more or to improve. If there is one thing I can't stand, that is toxicity. Anyway, enough rambling around. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe, it helps me a lot, maybe a lot more than you think. If you fail to do so, I will throw a road roller at you.
Sensei, was that the JoJo's reference?